Thank you, everybody. I want to start with an introduction to so the whole idea of where we simply start the third parak. So we're learning all about Averos and then Ainin, all the office that are applying to them. So I want to start really with a brief introduction. So essentially, there are three stages when a person dies, right? So there's one, the actual death itself, but then it goes into stage number 2, which is in Ainin, and it has its own set of halachos that pluck it from certain mitzvahs. They don't have to do certain things. And then from there, it goes into stage number 3, which starts from after the body's buried, and it goes into Avelos, which everyone is already familiar with. So to start, the Emek Bracha asks a very interesting question. So he says that if you think about it, the Adina Avelos should start as soon as the person dies, meaning that the Avelos and the Aninas should really be intertwined with each other. So he wants to know why, and he gives the reason that what's the reason why they should be intertwined with each other. And his reasoning is that the most bitter part of the whole death is right after. That's when the person is the most upset and it really bothers him the most. So if anything, you should specifically start the Avelos then when it's the hardest time. So he brings down 2 reasons. First, he brings down the Ramban, who basically says that really we are chayav in Avelos, even during the Anina stage. However, the only 3 things that you really part from is wearing leather shoes, sitting on a chair, on the old chair, and also putting ashes. And he gives that explanation because since you're busy and it's uncomfortable, those 3 you're apart from, but everything else you're really chayav in Dine Avelos. However, the Rambam in Hilchas Avelos brings down. He says that when does the whole Avelos start? The whole Avelos only starts from once the body is buried, and before the body is buried, you're not usher in any of the Yisurim that you're usher under the Avelos stage. So the Emek Bracha explains the Rambam, and he explains it that what's the whole reason that a person is partner is unanimous partner, because since he's very busy, his mind is very busy, he's busy thinking about certain things, he simply can't be bothered to go through everything, and since Isaac is a partner min mitzvah, therefore he's putter. Now, as a side note, the Emek Bracha also brings down, I think from maybe Akiva Eger, that really a person that you only putter from the mitzvahs to say, and mitzvahs loisa say you're chayav, meaning so that you can go on a killing rampage simply because you putter on all the mitzvahs. Now you only putter from the mitzvahs to say. So that's the start. So we start off with the Mishnah. Misha Mesai Motelafanav. Someone has a mace Motelafanav. So part of Mikriya Shema, Mina Tefillah, or Mina Tefillah. It's part of Mikriya Shema Tefillah and Tefillah and Mikola Mitzvahs are almost Patera. Now, so there are certain girsas that take out the words and Mikola Mitzvahs are almost Patera. So according to that girsa, we have two questions. Question 1 is that are they also in all the mitzvahs, or are they only also in the Kriya Shema, Tefillah, and Tefillin? And then question number 2 is that why specifically choosing these three mitzvahs? There's so many mitzvahs that you're a part of. Why are you choosing Kriya Shema, Tefillah, and Tefillin? What's the pshat in that? So we have 3 explanations. So the Ran says one. The Ran says one pshat, and this pshat is that really he says even according to the girsas who are noyek that take out the words almost patera, you're really a partner in all the other mitzvahs as well. So now, what's the reason why he specifically chose those 3? He said he chose those 3 because these 3 mitzvahs are essentially one of the hardest ones to accomplish. In the meaning that a person requires a lot of kavanah. Kriya Shema, Tefillah requires a lot of kavanah. You're accepting upon yourself all Nachal Shemaim. So therefore, it's very hard to while you're busy dealing with the mace, to concentrate properly on all these. So therefore, that's why the Mishnah specifically said these 3, and then from this we learn out all the other ones. However, the Ritva and the Rashba, they give a different explanation. They also agree that even according to the girsa that's night to take out almost patera, even according to them, you're still putter. You're still putter from all the other mitzvahs. So what's the reason why they say that you specifically said these 2 mitzvahs? They say because these three mitzvahs are really the easiest ones to accomplish, in the meaning that it takes very short time. You know, a person's busy, but you're able to stop for a minute, to stop, say Shema, say Shema for 5 minutes. You stop for a second, put on tefillin, quickly say Shema. So essentially, you might say, you know what, whatever you're doing, stop for 2 minutes, put on tefillin, say Shema, and then go back to whatever you're doing. Therefore, says the Mishnah, says no, even though it's very easy to accomplish, you still putter from them as well. From here we learn all the other mitzvahs as well. So now this brings us to another question. So now what's the whole idea behind that you putter? Okay, you putter. What's the reason why you putter from all these mitzvahs? So if you look at Rashi says, the first Rashi of the Mishnah, he says, why the fishu Torah? Since you're Torah b'machshava for us, right? Since you're Torah in the machshava aviberin, the putter. He says his reasoning is basically Torah. Since your mind is very busy with the burying and the death and the whole thing evolved, you're upset, you can't concentrate. So therefore your mind is Torah. Therefore it's similar to Chasan, and therefore you're a putter based on Torah. Tosfos on the other hand gives a different explanation. Tosfos gives the reasoning that he said the pasuk says L'man tiskar kol yemei chayecha. This pasuk is referencing to Kriya Shema, and as a side note, Kriya Shema itself discusses tefillin and tefillah, so you can see how it applies to tefillin, Kriya Shema, and tefillah all together. And he says, since the pasuk says L'man tiskar kol yemei chayecha, Kriya Shema only applies to the days that a person is dealing with things that are alive. The days that you're Isaac with Mesim or Tzarchei Mesim, you're part of Kriya Shema because it's not included in the word Chayecha. So now, based on this, this brings us on to another question. So now, does this Isser, does the whole inyan of Aninus, does it apply to all the Avelim, or does it specifically only apply to the person who's taking care of all the needs of the mace? So we have two tzadim over here. One side we could go L'tzad Rashi. So L'tzad Rashi, since he brings down the reason of Tarot, he says that you're very busy. Therefore, it appears even if you're not dealing with tzarchei mace, your mind is tired. You're busy thinking about the mace. You're very bitter inside. So therefore, it would appear according to Rashi that it applies to all the avelim. However, on the other end, from Tosfos, if you want to go L'tzad Tosfos, it appears that according to Tosfos, since they said Kol Yemei Chayecha, that's specifically dealing with, it's not including if you're tzarchei mace, it appears only pater if you're dealing in the tzarchei of the mace. Therefore, if you're not dealing in the tzarchei mace, your dina and ninus do not apply to you. So who are we going according to? So the Rashba brings down in Sheres HaShuvas, he brings down the reason that he's going according to Tosfos. He's bringing down that also his words are they dealing with the Techrichim and the RNO and all the other stuff, the details involved. So therefore, it appears to him that he holds that you're only potter if you're the actual guy taking care of all the needs of the mace itself. If you look on Tosfos later on, Tosfos brings down from the Yerushalmi. Okay, so let's say someone is in jail, right, and that person dies. So now, therefore, and there's no chance that his relatives could possibly be able to take his body and bury it themselves. So what's the halacha there? The halacha there is that they skip the whole Amina stage itself and they go directly into the Aveda stage. What's the reasoning behind it? Because since they're not dealing with the tzarchei mace, they don't have a chance to deal with it. Therefore, there's no aninus involved. So what do you see from here? It appears from the Yerushalmi that it appears that the halacha is L'tzad Tosfos. The halacha is according to Tosfos where you only pater if you're dealing with the tzarchei mace. Tosfos also brings another story from Rabbeinu Tam, where basically Rabbeinu Tam had a sister who died on Shabbos. Now he was living on Motzei Shabbos in a different city, so they told him. When they told him, he ate meat and he drank wine. And he said, since she's married and she has a husband who's dealing with all the kavua details and all the other needs himself, therefore I'm pater. Therefore, even if I was living in the same city as her, I would still eat and I would still drink wine. So we see from here the same thing. It appears according to based on the Rabbeinu Tam, the Yerushalmi, and the Rashba, that the reason is that Aninus only applies if you're dealing with the mace itself. However, all the other Avelim no. However, the Rambam says otherwise. The Rambam in Hilchos Kriya Shema, he has a totally different reasoning. He brings down his lashon of Mishu chayiv l's'abel olav. Someone who is chayiv to sit, someone who is chayiv to sit shivan, someone you have to be, you are in Avalon. So it appears according to the Rambam, that according to him, that even if you're not dealing with the Tzarech Emes, as long as you're one of the people who are sitting Shiva, or you're one of the Avelim, it's that applies to you and you're potter. What his reasoning is, the Rambam gives the reason, and as the Kesef Mishnah explains, because his mind is very upset, he's busy, and therefore he can't possibly think about it. So therefore, according to the Rambam, it appears that that even if you're not dealing with the Tzarech Emes yourself, you still potter from all the dinim. You're still potter from everything, and the whole dini aninos are applied to you as well. So now this brings us into a third question. Let's say you have a guy. The guy decides, I'm going to be a tzad. I'm going to be machmir and everything. I'm going to plant tefillah. I'm going to say Shema. I'm going to do everything. So is it simply that he's potter, which means that if he wants to, he's allowed to? We won't stop him. Or is the halacha that he's simply usher? He's not allowed to. He can't. We stop him. So if you look at Rashi on the Barides that the Gemara brought down, he says. He says the lashon that you don't have to make the bracha. So what's the mashma from Ein Tzarech? It's mashma from Ein Tzarech that it appears that you simply don't have to. If you want to, go ahead. You want to be machmer on yourself. Go ahead. Be machmer upon yourself. However, Tosfos brings down from the Yerushalmi, and Tosfos' lashon is the im matzav ha'achmer ein shamilin. We don't listen to him. And then he says not only can't he bench, ein rashar for it. He's not allowed to make a bracha. And what's the reasoning? They bring down two reasons from the Yerushalmi. One reason in Yerushalmi is that simply that it's not covered on mace itself. It's not covered on mace, to go be machmir, in front of the mace. So as a side note, this week even uses to answer one of our questions before, how what's the idea of why potter? Simply because it's not covered on mace. So that's one reasoning according to Tosfos why you're not allowed to. It's not covered on mace. Tosfos gives another reasoning. Tosfos' second reasoning is that simply because he doesn't have someone to carry his package. Since he doesn't have someone to help him with all the needs, to help him with all the details and everything, therefore he is potter. However, the Yerushalmi brings down a question from Sukkah. How let's say we have a halacha, we have a brisa that tells us that if a person is an ayna on Sukkot, right, he's potter from shaking lulav, and it's talking about an yontif itself. But an yontif you can't deal with all the kavur details. So what's pshat? We see from here that he's still potter even without yisamase. And Tosfos answers up, no, talk about cholamayit. Therefore, on cholamayit you're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to do all the details. But then, however, we still have another case. On Rosh Hashanah, right, you're potter from Tkiyah Shofar. And Rosh Hashanah, there's no cholam involved in this. What's pshat there? So Yerushalmi answers up. We learn from Masechta Shabbos that the machshich and al tchum, you're allowed to stretch the tchum, you're allowed to go out of the tchum to deal with the aron and the tachrichim and all the other details. Therefore, since you're able to deal with the aron and the details on Shabbos and Yontif, therefore it's considered noisem masai. Therefore, even on Shabbos and Yontif itself, you still the dina anina still would apply to you, and that's why we stop him from saying it. So now, in regards to halacha l'maisa, to wrap up, what's halacha l'maisa? What's the final halacha and everything? So, if you look in the Mishnah Berurah, the Mechaber and Siman Shin Aleph, he says the following. So it seems like before I start, it seems like the Mishnah Berurah, it seems like the Mechaber is saying a combo between the Rambam, Rashi, and Tosfos all together. Now he says, Misha Meis by Meis, someone who's Meis by Shu Chayiv l's'abel alav, that he's Chayiv to be mis'abel upon him. So notice how he gives the same lashon as the Rambam. So it appears from here that the Mechaber is going according to the Rambam, meaning that somebody who, even if you're not dealing with the Tzarech Emes, as long as you're one of the Avelim, as long as you're one of the Dinei Adinos, still apply to you. Then he says, now it appears that it's going according to Tosfos. If he wants to be machmir upon himself, we say that he's not allowed to be machmir upon himself. But then he says next, he says if you have someone else that is going to point as a shliach to take care of all the needs, now we don't protest him. So what's it mashma from here? So it seems from here that the Mechaber holds that if you're the one dealing with all the tzarchei akura, you're not allowed to be machmir upon yourself. However, if you're just one of the other Avim, not dealing with the other all the details, it appears to be that you're not that even though the din and inus apply to you, if you want to be a machmir upon yourself, you're allowed to be machmir upon yourself, and we don't stop you because you're not dealing with all the details. And even if you are dealing with all the tzarech emes, if you point a shaliach, if you point a shaliach, then it's not a problem, and then you could be machmir upon yourself as well. Now, just one more question: if he decides to do it, if he decides, you know what, I'm gonna do it anyways, and he does it, is he yotzeh or is he not yotzeh? So the Mishnah brings down from Rabbi Akiva Eiger that if he wants to, he's not yotzeh at all. Once the body's ready, once everything goes down, he has to go back and redo everything because he wasn't yotzeh. Thank you, B'Shalom.